Hello, my name is Chloe. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you a final check-in on the 20 books I wanted to read in 2020. So if you weren't aware, you haven't been around all year, I wouldn't blame you. There are a lot of new people this year. I set myself a goal of reading 20 of my backlist books in 2020. I had a full list. My plan was to read them and unhaul them if I hadn't got them read by the end of 2020. So we're gonna check in on these books and see how it's gone. About 2 months ago, I wrote this list down, so I am reacting to the list now. I was going to do one of those videos on my face in the corner. I've tried to film it, and I did it once, like way back in, I did a mid-year check-in, and it is just quite complicated to react to a whole video rather than just clips. So yeah, we're just going to read the list out and I'll stick photos in and you can be grateful for the editing. I'm sorry, it's too complicated. I'm not quite there with my skills yet. So the first book that was on my list was The Disappearances by Gemma Malley. So I'll stick the photo in, but I can actually see it on my shelves, like right there. I've probably just hidden my finger with the photo. Anyway, it's on my shelves. So this is the second book in the Killables series, and I didn't like it. So The Killables is one of my favourite YA dystopians of all time. So I had very, very high expectations, and I think that's why it took me so long to read The Disappearances. I read it back in August, gave it 3 stars. It didn't feel to me like a continuation of the series. It was just a different dystopian, which was really upsetting for me. I do have The System, which is book number 3, still to read, so I've held on to that copy just in case I love The System and would like to keep them all. If I don't like The System, I will keep The Killables forever because it was such a good read. But yeah, bit of a disappointing one, that one. Next, we have the first book that I haven't actually read yet, and that is Blue Bloods by Melissa de la Cruz. This is the first book of a vampire series that I had an absolute love for as a teenager, but just never actually finished reading them or reading them in order. I don't know. This, you'll be happy to know, I'm sure, is on my December TBR. So it will be read, it has to be read. I'm hoping by the time this video goes up, it'll be read. Yeah. I don't have any excuses for not reading this yet. It just completely slipped off my radar. But I did remember to put it on my December TBR to make sure it's read by the end of the year, because I don't want to unhaul this book because I have the first 5 in the series. So yeah, that is on my December plans. Next we have Angel by Ale Weatherly, which I have read. I read it in September and I gave it 4 stars. So this is the first book in a YA paranormal angel, as you can see from the title, angel like romance thing. It's very strange. I don't know why I've said romance. The main part is not romance. There is a romance plotline, which I love, but the main part of this story is that angels have come to Earth and they are feeding off people's energies. They are evil, and they need to be gotten rid of. Really enjoyed this. I think probably if I read it for the first time now I'd give it 3 stars, but I had to give it 4 just for that little bit of nostalgia factor, and I can't wait to carry on with the series, even though it did take me about 7 years to read this first book. Next I have We Are All Made of Molecules by Susan Nielsen. This book I read back in March and I gave it 2 stars. I really wasn't a fan at all. This is about a boy who is somewhere on the autism spectrum, and his life has completely changed. His mom has died, his dad has a new girlfriend, and they are moving in with the dad's girlfriend. She has her own daughter, and they're not that much different in age. So the boy, whose name has completely gone from my mind, he's basically just learning to live with a lot of different situations that he hasn't come across, and he's struggling with it. So I think the premise for this book was really good. My main problem is that it wasn't quite a YA, but it was definitely more like hard hitting than a middle grade. So I wouldn't really know where to place this book. I went in with YA expectations and it wasn't quite meeting that, just in terms of like how things were discussed. So yeah, it was a weird one. 2 stars, didn't love it. Next I have Nerve by Jean, I've learned it's Jean Ryan. I read this back in May and I gave it 3 stars. So this is a book that I only bought because I watched the movie, and I decided it was finally time to read the book. I'm glad I did, but I didn't really love this book. I actually, going back, I could knock it down a star. I'm not going to change it. It was far too long ago for me to be sure of that opinion. I haven't watched the movie again since though, so maybe I am just being swayed by the movie. it just really wasn't that great. This is a world, well, it's our world, I don't know why I'm saying a world, where there is an app where you can be a player or a watcher, and the player does dares. It's a good premise, but I didn't feel like it was executed that well. I should probably say with We Are All Made of Molecules and Nerve, I have unhauled both of those. The next book I have read and unhauled was Follow Me Back by Nikki Cloak, which I read back in April and I gave 2 stars. I could not tell you what this book is really about. It's a YA thriller where a girl's getting like stalky text messages and she doesn't know who they're from and they're quite threatening, is all I remember. I really didn't like this book. I felt like the ideas were so good, but every little reveal we had was a completely new tangent and I just didn't feel like it was well constructed. Saying that, I did read it all the way back in April, so I'm not really sure of my opinion. That is all I remember of my opinion, but I've read it and I've unhauled it. Next, I have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, which I have read. I read it in May and I gave it 4 stars. This was a really enjoyable read. It's a YA mystery thriller. I'm not quite sure which category you put it into. I really did enjoy it. I now own One of Us is Next and I own Two Can Keep a Secret, so I really need to read both of those, to be honest. But this is like the Breakfast Club kind of vibes, where 5 or 6 kids go into detention and only 5 come out alive. Like, whatever number it was, knock off one of them dies during detention. And yeah, it was really good. I did enjoy it. I did see where it was going, which didn't shock me. So yeah, saw where it was going, but I did enjoy the journey there. That's all I'll say on that one, because I really don't remember it. Oh dear. We now have one that I completely forgot about, and that's Shatter Me by Tahara Muffy. I haven't even made a move to pick this one up. I forgot it was on the list, quite frankly. Looks like I'm gonna have to put that on my February TBR because my January one's already completely full. So Shatter Me is gonna have to be in February. I'm not gonna unhaul that. I have the 4 books. I don't even know which novellas and stuff go in anywhere. The 4 main books, I own them. I would like to read them. So definitely if I don't enjoy Shatter Me, I'm just gonna get rid of the whole series, but I've heard amazing things about Shatter Me, so I do need to read it. I just completely forgot it was on this list. Next we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, which I read back in September and gave it 4 stars. I read this shortly after reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I genuinely really enjoyed this book. I think it was very nearly a 4.5, 5-star read, but we stuck at 4. This is about a girl called, I want to say Selena or something like that. I'm really bad at character names if you're not used to my videos. Who is an assassin, and she goes to this, she's in a like slave camp prison thing, and then she has to compete to be the king's assassin in a competition. It was very cool. I really enjoyed it. I have the second book, Crown of Midnight, but I haven't reached for it yet. I'm not desperate to. It took me long enough to read the first one. But yeah, this book was just overall a good time. I've discovered that I really like Sarah J Maas's writing style, so I will be reading the next one soon, but this one's ticked off my list, so don't worry about the next one. Next, I have The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, which I read back in April and I gave 5 stars. This is easily one of my favourite books of the year. It is a very feel-good romance. We follow a woman whose name is completely gone from my brain, who is on the autism spectrum, and I thought she was trying to find somebody to have her first kiss with. That is what I took the description as. It's actually that she's trying to find somebody to have sex with. So that was that was set out from the start, and that was a very drastic turn of events in my head. And I absolutely loved it. It was so like emotional, and the romance was amazing. I don't even know how to describe this book apart from saying it was amazing. It was everything I wanted and more. Next we have a bit of a controversial opinion. That is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So I had a buddy read set up for this, which fell through. I then had another buddy read that fell through. On the second buddy read that fell through, I did try and read this book. I got about 3 chapters in and didn't enjoy it. So for all intents and purposes, I DNF'd it, I got rid of it, I unhauled it, it was no longer in my life, and I was just gonna own up when I finally did this video. Then I got access to the audiobook, so I tried to read it again. I got a little bit further, I got about 40% of the way through. I think I got exactly 40% in. and I still didn't love it, so I stopped listening. This book genuinely just wasn't for me, and I'm not mad about it. I didn't want to read it, so I stopped reading it. I just know that it's a controversial opinion, so please don't come at me. Next, I have My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick, which I read potentially in April. I think it was April, and I gave 3.5 stars. So this is just a feel-good contemporary. It was about, again, character names are gone, a girl who lives with a bit of a uptight, snooty mom, and next door there is what her mom thinks is a really horrible family. They're just a little bit wild. The kids look like they're out of control. There's quite a lot of kids. And she tells her daughter to not go near that family, to just ignore them. She's been campaigning to get them out of the neighbourhood, and she just does not like them. So of course our main character falls for one of the guys living in that house with the mad family. It was great. It was a good time. For me, on those sorts of contemporaries, a 3-star is good. A 4-star is like, wow, this blew my socks off, but wasn't quite amazing. So I guess that's my rating on all books. I don't know why I'm saying just these contemporaries, but for that book to get a 3.5-star rating meant I think it was really good. It wasn't quite great, but I did enjoy it more than I expected. Does that make any sense at all? Next, I have one that I forgot was on this list completely. That is Lie With Me by Sabine Durrant. I unhauled this not long after uploading the original video, actually. So I was moving out of my own house into my parents' spare bedroom. So I had to really have a big cull of all the books I didn't want to read, and Lie With Me made that list. I didn't want to keep it, so it went, and I haven't thought about it since. Maybe that's why I forgot about it on this list. Next, I have Perfect Chemistry by Simone. Still don't know how you say her last name. I don't know. What would it even be? I read this in June. I read it in June. I've just checked my notes, and I gave it 4 stars. I really love this book. I do remember this one. It could have been a 5 stars. I think if I was going purely on enjoyment alone, it would have easily been a 5-star rating. But it was such a good time. I just can appreciate it wasn't the best written thing ever. It wasn't the best literary work that's ever been published, but oh my god, it was a good time. This is about, all I remember is a uptight goody two-shoes girl and a bad boy gang member getting romantically involved. It was amazing. Next on this list is The Duff by Cody Keplinger, which I read again in June, and I gave it 3 stars. This book was absolutely fine. I had swayed myself a little here because I did watch the movie first, even though I didn't remember the movie at all. This is about a girl, I want to say Bianca. I'm going to go with Bianca, who she is designated as the designated ugly fat friend, the Duff. And she wants to prove that she's not the Duff, really. And the main way she does that in the book is sleeping with the person who's called her a Duff. That's all I'll say. It was perfectly fine. It just wasn't great. Next, we have The Boy Who Sneaks in My Bedroom Window by Kirsty Mosley, which I read in June. Again, I had a bit of a power to read these in June, and I gave 3 stars. So I did really enjoy this one. My main problem with this, a lot of it was completely unbelievable, like it would not have happened and it will never happen, so that dropped it down at least 1/2 star. And then it read like a self-published book. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with self-published books, but it read like it needed an agent. It needed an extra team of spell checkers and like grammar checkers and a usual this needs to be in here checkers. So it just wasn't quite like refined enough for me as a finished book, which is just my opinion. So I didn't love it for that reason, and it was a little bit out there, but 3 stars, I did really, really enjoy it. Next we have another one I haven't quite gotten to yet. Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Again, this is on my December TBR. I will be reading it. It's already divided up into days for me to read this. It'll be fine. I will get to it. I promise. I don't really have much to say about this book. It is about a girl named Rachel who agrees to spend the summer in Singapore with her boyfriend Nick. She envisions a humble family home and quality time with the man she hopes to marry, but Nick has failed to give his girlfriend a couple of key details. 1, that his childhood home looks like a palace, and 2, that he just happens to be the country's most eligible bachelor. So I will be reading this in December. I will be forcing myself to do it. Not that I think this is going to be good. It's just very, like, the words are very small on the page and there's quite a lot of it. So it's on my list. Next on this list, we have Beware the World by Natalie C. Parker. I read this in October, maybe November, sometime recently, and I gave it 3 stars. The first chapter of this sent actual chills down my spine. The rest of it was just okay. So 3 stars. I haven't hauled it. I don't need to read it again. This is about a town in Louisiana that is surrounded by a swamp. Well, I'm assuming not fully surrounded, but you get my point. And people don't go into the swamp because they never come back out. So it's like a thing to be feared in the town. And in this book, the main character's brother runs into the swamp, and then a girl comes out of the swamp and introduces herself to the main character's family, but the main character's family think that that is their daughter and like her sister. That first chapter gave me, like, I felt sick. The rest of the book is a very weird, supernatural, what's going on in the swamp kind of thing, but it was good. Next, I have Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen, which I read last month, November, or October. I'm gonna go November, and I gave it 5 stars. This is a serious contender for one of my favourite books of the year. This is amazing. This is about Jacob Jankowski, who during the Great Depression era of America was training to be a vet, but then his parents die in a car accident, and he runs away and joins the circus, effectively, and he becomes the show vet. It's such a good read. There is a movie with Robert Pattinson, which completely swayed my opinion of this book. I know it did, but absolutely perfect. Like, such a good read. I can't recommend it enough. And finally on this list, we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. So this is book, what can I even say about this book? I read it a couple months ago now, gave it 5 stars, 4.5 stars. I read it in September. I'm just checking my notes. So yeah, read it in September, 4.5 stars. It was really, really good. Scythe is a world, the Scythedom series, where the world is perfect and nobody dies anymore. You can kill yourself, but you won't die, because your body just like restores itself. It's very strange, but very well thought out. So scythes have to be trained to take people's lives because the population is just out of control, because nobody's dying. So the book actually follows Rowan and Citra, who are apprentice scythes, and they're learning what to do. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm reading Thunderhead very, very soon, which is the sequel, I should say. But yeah, I enjoyed this book and I did read it. So out of my 20 backlist books, I have read 16. Like, I am fine with that. 2 are on my TBR for December, so they will definitely be read. Again, it's up to 18. Another one, wait, no, haven't. I've read 15. Let's start again, shall we? I've read 15 books. Of the remaining 5, 2 are on my December TBR. 2 have been unhauled, whether that be DNF'd or never started, Lie With Me and Children of Blood and Bone, and only 1 was completely forgotten about, and that's Shatter Me. So I will be making plans to put that in my next available TBR. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was definitely a long time coming. It feels very weird to start a video last December and finish it a year later. Like, that is crazy. But yeah, we've come to an end now. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know whether it's going to have gone up yet or it will be coming after this, but I am doing 21 books I want to read in 2021. So we'll be having this same format again, whether you like it or not. So on that note, thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.